This is a little bonus video. This is not required for the assignment. This is 100% optional, and again, just more of an information dump for you guys to see some other ways that you can help take your CG element and blend it with the background. Obviously, we've got color correction, noise and grain, blur, all of those things we've talked about already, and hopefully you guys have already employed them at some level in your comp. I wanted to introduce one today called Light Wrap, which is another great tool, just another layer that you can add to, especially with CG footage, that allows you to better, again, incorporate the comped footage with the background footage. And what a light wrap essentially does is it detects the silhouette of your foreground element, so in this case the car, and then you tell it the background that it's going to be in front of, and it actually creates a kind of a blended area where it blends pixels from the background image on the outer edge of the object in the foreground. And it actually is great because it creates this little bleed almost that makes it feel like the colors around the tire, for example, on the pavement are reflecting back on the tire, and again, it just helps blend it a little bit more. It's one of these tools that a little bit goes a long way. If you crank the values too high, it'll start to look really strange, but if you're subtle with the values, it's a really nice kind of final polishing thing that you can add to all of your comps really easily. So it's called Light Wrap. So I'm gonna hit tab, type in light wrap draw. There it is. And it's kind of like a merge node. It's got an A and a B. So B gets plugged into your background image and A gets plugged into your foreground image. Now for us it's a little bit complicated because we've got a lot going on. So this as a whole is our foreground image, but our background image is literally just this image right here. So that's what gets plugged into B, is our original background image. So I'm just going to take the B pipe from the light wrap, plug it in there. If you don't want the pipe going back to the original, you could hypothetically copy and paste or duplicate your background image and have two of them. I don't like to do that. It makes the scene heavier than it needs to be. Using something that's already there is the best way to go memory-wise, for sure. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, in doing this, the pipe is going to pass over other things. If you want, you can use, again, hold down the control key and create nulls to kind of make your own path so that there's no overlapping. But again, it actually doesn't matter if it is. They're not connected. It's okay for pipes to pass over other nodes. It's not going to hurt anything. So just be aware of that. So A gets plugged into your object. So for us, it's whatever node represents the entire object. So for us, it's going to be this last merge node here. So I'm going to plug that into A. And then before I do anything else, I'm just going to look at that in the viewer. So this is the result of my light wrap right now. And at a glance, it's going to look like nothing is happening. And that's because by default, the settings are very conservative. And you can see the intensity of the light wrap is set to 0. So what I'm going to do is going to crank the intensity way up so you guys can see what's happening there. So see this lightness it's got around this halo? That is actually pixel information from the background image blended with the car. So when I bring them together, you'll see a little bit better. And also, there's also an option here to generate the wrap only, so you're just seeing what the wrap looks like all by itself. There it is. So what Nuke is doing is it's taking the shape of the car and taking the halo, which is the outer edge of the silhouette, and blending in pixels from the background image. Now, you would never, ever, ever set the intensity to 100 for this. you might set it to 5 or 10. It's something that you want to use in subtle values. So I'm just turning it way up so we can see it. So I'm going to turn the generate wrap only function back off. And what we're going to do is this becomes now the new representation of our car, or whatever your object is. So I'm going to make room for it. I'm going to slide all this over. I'm going to unplug the old merge node from where it was. I'm going to add a postage stamp to my light wrap so I can see that this is the new end result of the car, and then plug it into where this used to be. By rights, I should turn the postage stamp for that off, just to be organized. There we go. So again, same base comp. I just added a new node that's getting information from the car comp and the original background. So now if I look at the merged version, here it is, and you can see what's happening here. Again, it's blending the pavement, and like I said, it almost looks like it's reflecting off the ground, off its environment. Even here, see the bright highlights in the paint? Again, that's getting reflected off the tires. Now again, this is making it look very heavenly right now because it's so soft. That's because I've turned the light wrap values up way too high. Like I said, intensity, default to 0. You might bring it up to 5, 10 maybe, if you really want to push it, but anything more than that, it's going to be too much. So I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. Now, just to make it more obvious, again, I'll crank it for a second, and I'll just go over the diffuse value. Diffuse is pretty much a blur. So if I turn the diffuse all the way down to 0, it doesn't blur, and it's going to look like it's a weird halo. The more I bring the diffuse up, the more it blurs the pixels from the background into the car. So like I said, the default setting of around, I think it's 14 or something. So usually between 5 and 15 is good enough. Depends on the size of your object, really. I'm going to set it to 10. And then I'm going to, bring this down to maybe 7. Very subtle. But again, subtleties sometimes are what makes the biggest differences for the end result. You've also got a foreground blur, which blends it into your foreground object, which is the car, or a background blur, which blends it more into the background itself. So you can adjust all those things and mess around with it. Ultimately is what I'd recommend, just to see what gets the look that you're going for. You can also enable glow. So if you want to add a glow effect to something, this is one quick and easy way to add a glow halo to any object. So depending, again, what your goal is, that may come in useful, but it doesn't in this case. I don't want to make my car glow any more than it needs to. So again, that is the light wrap node. And again, a great way to better blend your foreground and background elements. Again, not required for the assignment, but if you want to add it, it is something that you should consider in all of your serious comps if you ever want to do some of this stuff for your demo reel work. These little nodes are kind of everyday things when it comes to compositing, so something that you guys should definitely know. Thanks again.